Okay, we're back. We're back. I think everything is okay with the audio. Yeah, I see it. And let's, of course, make sure the most important thing is happening, which is we have our background music. There we go. There we go. And let me paste it in to the Discord chat. Okay, we have a random set of topics today. Who knows? Last time we streamed, I did a lot of AI vibe coding. It didn't end up in the right place because of some weird issue, but I think as I relaxed from that episode, I did some other vibe coding, which I'm going to show you. So let's see. Yeah, the Discord team knows I'm here. Hopefully we'll get a few people joining us. Lots of really interesting things to talk about. What did I put the title as? New tablet tools. I do have new tablet tools to show you. And we're going to talk about some AI stuff. I'm not planning to do any vibe coding. There's some AI tools that I found that I weren't, they use AI, but they're tools that you know about, Photoshop and Canva. But I was really interested in what they did. And in a sense, yeah, I guess you would say these are generative AI, but also they're more like tools to help you than just drawing for you. And I think that's a distinction will be very obvious here. In other words, it's a use of AI that I think you may be okay with. Okay? Some of you probably will not, because I know some of you have other reasons why you find the use of AI, generative AI, in any way, unethical. But we try to learn on this channel about what AI has in store for us, how it's going to affect us, and what it means. So it's not a topic we can really avoid because it is creative technology, and that really is the focus of the channel. Tablets are just another thing that is about creative technology. And then hopefully we'll get who was it, Nick last time, and Arch. You know what happens on this channel? We've also turned into a military aviation channel. So that's what we're going to talk about. Yes, we are going to, Cube is chatting in the Discord. We are going to talk about military aviation. We're going to talk about the newly announced Bell X-47, which, honestly, if you saw the drawing DARPA released on X, you would think someone AI generated it. In other words, you would think it's totally fake. It's something out of like a video game. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to take a look at the Mover and Donkey show. Gonky, not Donkey. I watch their channel, their live stream a lot. And we're going to look at the comments, which are pretty funny, actually. Some of it's tragic, but we should absorb it. I think there are actually lessons to learn from... Okay, let me just back up for a second. I'm really into aviation, not just military aviation. I actually do watch shows like Mentor Pilot, where people talk about accidents in aviation, what we can learn from them, how people get involved in these kind of mishaps. And of course, it's not necessarily a fun topic, but there's so much to learn about how things are built and reliability and how people perform during stressful events and the decisions that go into, life or death situations. So I think it's a fascinating topic. So I do like talking about it. So for those of you who like aviation or military aviation, we will get into that topic. Let's see. Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is, now everyone I think knows I have a document site. It's docs. It was docs.the7pens.com. Now it is just docs.7pens.com. I'm slowly trying to get rid of the, right? Because it's adding, people just start using 7pens, so I felt it was pretty natural. I can't completely get rid of it because of, not every site allows me to rename, but on my main doc site, I changed it. But there was no landing page at 7pens.com. So I did want to make sure I created one. I'm going to show you what I created. And yes, it was vibe coded. And yes, I was criticized for that. And I removed all the AI slop. And now it's left with almost everything that I did by hand. There's still a little bit of slop stuff in there. But then we're going to take a look. It's very simple. It's nothing. It's nothing complicated, okay? So give me a second. Let me get there. And I'm just showing this to you because you may see it on stream when I'm looking up certain links. And actually, it's actually the intro to the tools I want to talk about. I want to share with you some tooling talk. You know, I couldn't even spell it correctly. Hang on. I typed in sevens pen. And then I typed in 7pen. So I put the S in the wrong place twice. There we go. Okay, so let me just show it to you. I am here. This is it. That's the entire landing page. Okay, there's nothing fancy. Probably the fanciest thing about this is you can click on the right from light to light mode, right? I just thought in some circumstances, because I do think I'll show this site for me to click on these tools links. In some cases, it'll be easier for me to work with dark mode, some cases light mode. So that's it. Let's see. Now, so there's links to my docs site, which I'll go ahead and press that link. So there you go, there's the docs. And I'm gonna make that link probably directly to the drawing tablet docs instead of this general docs site. The YouTube channel, okay, there we go. I need to get a fancier banner on top. That is, it's old and it's looking not very fresh. And then of course to my X. I'm always nervous about clicking on X because you know what happened? I think I told you. I clicked on one link to something, I'll talk about it in a second. And then suddenly X is recommending me all sorts of related things. And the thing I clicked on was it was an Andrew Tate thing. I'll just say it right there. No, I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm just saying I clicked on the link to see what was being said. And next thing you know, I got all sorts of interesting recommendations in my feed. So I'm always leery about opening up X. Okay, so I just realized I have 50 GitHub repos. And a lot of these repos are deployed as GitHub pages, okay? And these pages they're tools, okay? So I'm just going to talk about the list, and then I'll talk about some changes, okay? So Pressure Explorer, that I'm going to show you that today. It's a new tool. There's the tablet tester. There's actually 3 things called tablet tester. There's basic, advanced, and the original. I've showed the original. I'm going to show it again in this stream, but I actually have a basic and advanced one I want to also show you. My tablet inventory, my pen compatibility list, the Wacom driver list, and my pen pressure response data set. Okay, so this should make it easy for you to find these tools if you ever need to see them. And it's actually going to help me find the tools as well during my streams. So let's start with the tablet tester, since it's the thing most of you are familiar with if you watch this channel. And it's a link I always share on Reddit. So it's actually, it's this page where, I tell people if they're having trouble with their pen, I say, I'm going to draw, actually. Well, I can't draw exactly right now, but I'm going to use the mouse. And a couple of things about this. First of all, it is a test tool, but I realized it is, and by the way, this was all handcrafted. None of this was AI, just FYI. But I realized that some of this is more for me testing things and not so useful for the 99% case, which is someone is just seeing if their pen works correctly, if pressure can be detected. So I sort of split this. So based on this tool, I did ask Claude Code to create a simpler version and then to migrate this tool to something more complicated, which we're going to show you. But let's show you let's go back. And this is now Tablet Tester Basic. This is new, right? So I'm going to click on it. It's even more simple than the old tablet tester. It does almost the same exact thing. Just try your pen. If it works, tell me, right? If it doesn't work, tell me, and maybe then we'll figure out there's a debugging problem, okay? So I'm drawing with the mouse. That's why you're not seeing any pressure curves. But this is what 99% of the time people need to use. So, and this is a very, very simple. I'm not even sure this is using anything fancy. I think it's just one HTML page. Nocti is saying, oh, they're chatting in the Discord about, let me just read this real quick. Because there was a question about UI and Open Tablet Driver. The slide. Interesting. Okay, so they don't support that kind of fancy UI. And then Nocti is saying, hear me out, WebView. Interesting. Interesting. I want to learn about WebView, actually, because I have a use for it, potentially, in my own code. Okay, so we're looking at the simple tablet tester. And now, I'm going to show you the advanced one, okay? So this is Tablet Tester Advanced. It says new next to it. So, this is not intended for the vast majority of you. This is more of a 7 pens tool for me to try things out, okay? Experiment with things, to try things. It is very similar to the Tablet Tester tool that was originally there. It is just more enhanced. It's got features. I'm going to walk through some of the features. So the first of all, it has a real canvas, okay? And I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, okay? And in fact, you can do things like fit the canvas, to whatever the maximum size it can get on the page, or reset the zoom, which isn't quite working in this case, but that's interesting. And it's a specific size document, 1920 by 1080. And there are actually 2 panels on the left and the right. I'm going to click on the right one. It's called Options. You know what? I think I have not deployed the latest changes. This is actually supposed to be called something else. So I'll have to double check that. But I think most of it is the new stuff. So you can change now this is interesting. It used to be the old canvas was just light blue and you drew on it. In fact, erasing was drawing light blue. But now this app actually implements layers. There's actually a real background layer and a real foreground layer. So as proof of that, let me just draw something, okay? So it doesn't matter what I draw. And you can see I can change the background layer. I'll change it to like this red or something, okay? That's not change, and there's a real eraser as well. I'll show you the eraser in a second. And another proof that the background is actually a real background is I'm going to make it all white, and then I'm going to turn on the show grid, right? So you can see the what's in front is not affected at all. Am I going to add multiple layers? Possibly, but this is going to help me out a lot because sometimes I want to draw something on a template. Like when I'm doing my, what is it called? My wobble testing, right? And so this might help in those cases when I'm trying to trace certain things out just to see something stable. You can change the grid color if you want as well, right? Lots of little features. Another thing which I noticed in my tool is, and I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna change it back, and then I'll show you. When I was zooming in, notice how the pixels are fuzzy? This is because when the canvas is shown, it was doing this a certain kind of sampling. And we actually talked about anti-aliasing and sampling and how they're related in a previous stream. But I learned we could actually change this and use nearest neighbor sampling. See, now this is what you expect. We get little squares of color, right? And this reminds me, I need to probably make even a bigger zoom. And this is really useful to see this because sometimes when I was drawing really small lines, because there was so much blurriness because of the sampling, you couldn't, it made it seem like there were problems in the stroke, even though there weren't. So I'm going to, I added this changing the rendering style of the canvas, okay? And you can change this panel back. Now another thing I did was I actually implemented the beginning of having real brushes. Okay, it used to be that there was just one kind of brush that just drew dots, and the eraser was just that same brush, but the color was set to eraser. Well, now there's actually a brush type. It says marker and eraser. If I turn to marker, right, you'll see all the colors. Oh, sorry, I go back to marker here. all the color. There's no erase color here, right? So you can draw. Notice that you can draw while zoomed in. That's actually another cool feature. And eraser is a totally different brush, right? See? Now, of course, you don't set the color of the eraser. So I've made these things two separate brushes. And next up, it's not implemented yet, I'm gonna have these settings, size and scale size by and min size. I'm gonna have these separated. So if you're on a marker, they'll have one value, but on eraser, they'll have another value, okay? Now, another thing I did was I added a panel on the left called processing. Oh, that's a good idea, Cube. Thank you. Let me reply to him. Thank you. Will implement. He gave me a tip on how to do light mode, dark mode, so I will implement that. Thank you, Cube. So processing is, and I'm going to collapse these sections. We have processing, smoothing, quantization, and curves. Okay. Processing is, oh, and we have people in the chat. Sorry, James chasing sunrise. Hey, 7 early, but I'm going to have to watch this tomorrow. For the other time, got it. And thanks for joining us though. Arch says finally an accurate stream title. Yes, it is. This is an accurate stream title. And I'm glad you're here, Arch, because this is definitely when we talk about military aviation. On the weekend, I was learning about radar warning receivers and missile advanced warning system. Things like that, MAWS. We all know why, right? We all know why I'm looking at missile advanced warning systems, which should warn a pilot about a heat-seeking missile. We all know why that's interesting because of current events. So processing. Processing includes smoothing, quantization, and curves, okay? Real brushes have curves. So you can smooth the position, you can smooth the tilt, and you can smooth the pressure, okay? So you can all independently, the reset button changes all these processings back to the default, by the way, okay? Oh, and you can directly edit the values. This was not possible before, right? I don't know why that, oh, you notice how this this grid is changing? That's because this is actually an interesting side effect of doing nearest neighbor sampling. So I'm gonna go back to smooth. I should probably use nearest neighbor or give control for the foreground layer, but leave it as smooth for the background layer. That's probably the right thing to do. Our radar warning server can detect radar guided launches as well from the way the energy signal of the radar changes, although more modern platforms avoid this and can do silent launches. Got it. I didn't even think of that. That's quite interesting. AI must be really challenging now, right? Like, is there detection? Missiles can track their targets better with some AI now? I don't know. I don't know much about this kind of topic, really. Then there's quantization. Quantization is how I prove to people, and now basically it can simulate different numbers of pressure levels. So actually, right now I have pressure quantization. I'm actually going to add position quantization and tilt quantization to show you, to demonstrate how having less resolution in sensing what the pen is doing affects you. Okay, and I think that's kind of an important thing. And then finally, there's this directional pressure curve. Okay. And I'm gonna have to zoom this in a little bit, or yeah, to see it all. So then we have pressure curves, okay? And this is exactly the way it used to be in the old app, okay? But I was thinking I wanted to really improve this, okay? And as this app started getting more complicated, I started realizing, oh yeah, normal people don't need to use this app. This is more of a me and like my tablet buddies on the Discord would find this app interesting. And again, this app is also supposed to be a platform for me to try things, Okay. But as you can tell, the app is complicated now. Essentially, the app has become a drawing program, right? Unintended, but it's really taken on a lot of features that a normal drawing program would have, but that wasn't intended. Okay. But I think I'm going to continue developing this app, and I might even do or push it in the direction of actually being a drawing program. Okay, I might. I'm thinking about it. Or at least I'll fork it and create, 7 Paint or something. Right? Let's take a look at Arch's comment. I think classical neural network learning algos are used to feed IR data to missile software so they can learn what planes look like. Okay, from different angles. Surely for radars as well, although in my understanding, a lot of that is simulation based. Got it. So this is the app. Again, there's more to do here. I have a full list of things I want to add. One of the big things I wanted to add was pressure curves and more sophisticated pressure curves. This is like a basic pressure curve. It can't even do the kind of pressure curves I talk about. So for example, if I go to, I'm going to open up a new document window for my Git book here. Pressure curve. This is something that comes up in my world a lot. Okay? So I say there's that gives sort of this menu of pressure curves, and each one has a use. The thing is, my app it can only do this simple curve. It can't do any of these other ones. And some of these are complex to, quote, draw, but I wanted to be able to do it and play around because they're so important. Like my app can do the null curve and the simple curve, but nothing else. Can't do inverse, constrain, ignore bottom, can't do any of those things. And those are important to demonstrate. Also, I was getting tired of drawing these pressure curves by hand in PowerPoint and copying and pasting them. So let me introduce you to my other tool, which is called Pressure Explorer. Now, it's not just pressure curves. It does more than that. Pressure Explorer is, I wish I could, actually, let me put a note to myself. Hang on. Let me open up my show notes. I want to add a note to myself about this. Sometimes I'm demonstrating the mouse, so I'm going to consider adding a mouse pressure simulation as well. So that, this is a to-do item for me. To-do, add mouse pressure simulation. It'll just help me demo sometimes. Because right now something weird happens when I duplicate the desktop. Oh, wait a second, I can do this, sorry. I can do this. I just forgot my greatest tool is changing the driver and where it works. The active area. Okay, so let me, I'll just do some quick demos here just to explain what's happening. So you see that little simple tester, I actually reuse that code here, right, as the canvas. Now let me draw a little bit, okay? And why are you not seeing anything? That is unusual. It's acting like the mouse is being used. Okay, there may be something wrong with my machine. So I'm gonna try using it on Edge, okay? So give me a second. I was having problems with, it's so weird. Edge wants to translate this page from French to English, and I'm like, why? Oh boy, okay. Something's wrong with my Huion driver or something. Let me try the eraser maybe. Okay, well at least the eraser is getting the altitude. But something is wrong with the driver. I think the V20 Huion driver just messed up, is what I think. Anyway, I'm not gonna do the full demo, but let me explain a few things what this does. First of all, I'll go back to Chrome. So here's the normal pressure curve. There's different kinds of curves we have. Okay, drawing in cursive clearly yes. There's the null effect curve. I changed it to null effect instead of null because if I just said null, the AI assistant tool might get confused. So this one can't be changed. It just means the do nothing curve. Then there's the flat curve. And the flat curve, you can change just the height. It's very restrictive in what you can do, right? So that's useful to demonstrate. Then there's the power curve, what I call the basic curve. It'll get renamed. And you can move these dots around, right? So you can do things like moving the one on the bottom increases the IAF, moving the one on the top decrease the IAF. You can actually move these down and up a little bit. And you can change the curve amount, okay? Inside the two dots, okay? So this will help me draw and talk about some of these topics. And then there's the sigmoid, which I don't think I need anymore, but I'm gonna leave it in for now, which has just, it's very similar to the other one, except it curves in a different way, okay? You can see how that happens. I don't think I'll need this in the future. And then there's the custom, which really is gonna be renamed to Bezier. This is the full curve editing experience. So you can make, you know, you can move this up, add nodes, everything, okay? Now what you can't see, because this Huion driver seems to be messed up, is that as I press down with the pen, I'm gonna try one more time, even though I know it's not gonna work. Okay, you see that dot that's blinking? That's actually the live pressure reading. Now, for some reason, the drivers making this web app think that this is a mouse. That's why, and for a mouse, it's set at 50%. But if this is working, you'll see that little red dot. As I press harder, it'll move along this Bezier curve. It'll move along all the curves. So you can see how hard I'm actually pressing and what that means for the curve, right? This is something that Rebel does. So I decided to add it to this tool. Now, there's another thing is you can actually do pressure smoothing. Now you can smooth first, then curve, or curve, then smooth, and they have different effects. And I'm gonna add dots for the raw, on this, moving dots on the curve to show you the raw pressure, the smooth pressure, and the curved pressure, the final pressure, so that you know how the dots are interacting, like what's the true difference, okay? And you can see actually the pressure up here, there's three numbers. It has 0 to 0 to 0. If this is working correctly as I was pressing down, if I press with the mouse, you'll see it. It's smooth first, then it's curved, and here it's 5.0's curved to 3.356. Okay. Let's see, talking about pressure curves, but someday, whenever I am not doing 50 other simulation things, I want to make a pen and pencil sim that outputs curves for everything to use in software tool. Interesting. Interesting. So now that you mentioned that, what I was realizing in this app was, man, if I have to draw a special curve and then I come back the next day, I don't have to redraw that curve, right? So I'm actually, for all of these curve types, I'm going to add the ability for the user to create named settings, profiles. So I can, and those will be stored in the web browser's local storage. That means I'll be able to define a bunch of presets and just quickly switch to them, right? And allow import export of those settings as JSON, so I can share that with you, or you can share that with me for debugging purposes, okay? Which brings me back to the tester tool, this thing. These processing settings, I really realized these are really settings for the brush. So when I create the new brush settings, it's actually going to include these formatting settings as well as these processing settings. So the eraser will have one, and the brush will have, the marker will have another one, and I'm going to add the ability to create presets, user-defined presets, meaning you can create your own brushes and share them as JSON files, etc. So again, I know it seems like I'm just getting closer to a drawing app, but the intention is to make setting up demos just much easier. The presets really help that. And the same with the ability to import, export as JSON. So that's what's happening with these apps. You know, maybe I should, I'm looking, maybe, no, I was gonna say, I'll have to reboot the computer. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. It's just very frustrating right now that I'm having a problem with Windows Inc. and this Huion. Okay, so did I cover? I don't think I covered quite everything. Just as a reminder, these other tools, I do have my drawing tablet inventory for everyone who wants to see what tablets I have. Okay. And then here we have my Wacom pen compatibility list, right? So you can type in like KP-504 and you can see which tablets are compatible with it, right? And what this means is there's KP-504 here and then all these tablets are compatible with it. If that's confusing, you can also do like group by tablet, so it's more easy to see. So if you have suggestions, let me know. Then finally, the Wacom driver list. This got a slight UI update as I moved it to using Svelte, which is some UI framework. And you're probably wondering what the hell it's, why does it say JSON merger? This is a well, I didn't have any other place to put this. This is for someone to give me an updated set of JSON to merge into my JSON file. Actually, I had to add this feature because Cube gave me some more additions and I didn't have an easy way to merge them. So I built a merging tool in this thing. So it's not meant for normal use. It's more like very exceptional to use the JSON merger. But yeah, if you can see this, I've also simplified the UI a little bit. So it's easier to find the driver, the release notes, and the archive drivers. See, Art says, I had some ideas also to simulate a ballpoint pen based on empirical flow amounts and simulated ball geometry to form the point that one might be unfeasible. That sounds complex, Arch. That sounds really complex. And then the pressure response data set. I've shown this a couple of times on stream. You can look through any pen model. Let me go click on pen model here, like PW600, and see, I have 7 of those. You can see the measurements, okay? There are different views on this. I'm adding a feature to group by pen family. So that would allow you to see all the PW600, PW600L, PW600S, all in one bucket, okay? So let's see, or maybe I should do it by tag, because that way, sometimes there are different groupings you want. So actually I'll do it that way. I'll do it by tag instead of just family. But it's still useful to have a family. Okay, so did I cover all the tools? Yes, I did cover all the tools. Now let's talk about, let's see, oops, Art says, it's complex if you do it physically, like with fluid dynamics or whatever. But I feel just like an empirical method would work fine to figure out some stuff that's hard to measure. Okay. Now we talk about AI. Now, there's one guy on YouTube who I watch, Matt Wolf. I'm just going to bring up his channel so you can visually recognize him, okay? He spells wolf with an E at the end. Okay, sorry, where did Matt Wolf go here? I scrolled off his thing. Okay. Yeah, this is Matt Wolf. And I watch his videos. He does a video every couple of days, I think. And so he just did one saying AI news, they launched all the same thing. This is a good channel if you want to keep up with what's happening. So I do watch this channel. I don't watch every video deeply, but I try to see what new is being released, because he does really good quick summaries of that. And he talked about 2 new UI tools that I think are very interesting. We're going to see if we can use them. Okay, so give me a second. One is Canva, and the other is Photoshop, an AI assistant. Now this stuff is quite interesting. Let's see, I think it's available for all Canva users. And I believe I do have a Canva account. But let's take a look at the description of this feature. Turn images, it's called magic layers, sorry. Turn images into editable layers with magic layers. And you can transform any flat image into a fully editable, so you can separate things out that weren't originally separate. Right? How many times have you been given a photo and you're like, oh, I want the person And I don't want to remove the background. I just want to almost like have the background as a separate picture without a hole cut in, right? You want, so just keep separate layers. So we're going to try that today. I believe, let's take a look, which file types. PNG and JPEG. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, let me see if I can log into Canva real quick. Canva. I do believe I have an account. Give me a second. Let me log in or sign in or whatever I need to do here. Continue. I'm not going to pay for it. That's for darn sure. Try Canva Pro for free. No, I don't want to try anything. To me, Canva does not provide much value. Oh, here it is, magic layers. Magic layers. Okay, so give me a second. Let's just make sure we have media here. And give me a second as I find. There's an image, a specific frog-based meme. Let's see. Yeah, I think I found it. Let's see. Save image as in downloads. Where the heck is downloads? Save. Okay. Okay, we're good. We got it. So we're going to try it. Don't know if it'll work on this image, but we're going to try, okay? Upload. Yeah, this is it. Okay, here, sorry. I'm not showing you the scene. My mistake. So I just selected a file. That's all that happened. And then your design is ready to edit. Okay, so let's open the editor. Okay, so where is this... what is this magic layers thing? I'm trying to find it here. No. Magic layers, okay. Magic Studio. So I'm going to click on this. Let's just see what happens. Well, nothing apparently. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I mean, I don't know about you, but, and it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be, right? It did enough of an interesting job on something that was not a photo that I'm like pretty happy. And in fact, I can resize our frog here, or well, I resized something. I just don't know what I resize. I'm going to delete that actually. Let's find the frog. I can make the frog bigger or smaller. So now he's a smaller frog. You can see it didn't really quite understand what to do with the shadow that's on his face, but that's okay. That's okay, right? This is a pretty big deal. Let's see what else it got. It got this set of food, his tendies. It got the cup and the spilled liquid. It got the tendy boxes, and the fries are here. Again, perfect? No. Could it do a better job? Sure. But I think this is very useful. And then not just for meme creation, sometimes you just, you know, I'll tell you how I'm going to show you me using it, okay? For a real sort of like normal case. It's not like, you know, memes, okay? Give me a second. I'm going to have to find, I take pictures, and I'm going to show you a very typical thing that happens for me, which is irritating, but it's not easy to do. Let's see how good a job it does, okay? I take pictures of tablets. I don't take pictures of people. I just take pictures of tablets and pens. Let's see what I'm going to find a picture. Let's see how good a job. We'll do another illustration, okay? And then we'll try. Well, that's not a good one. Let's try Wacom. I have a lot of Wacom boxes, as you can imagine. I'm going to try to find a pen tablet and a PTK X40. Let's see, Art says, I printed some stuff today and it had some AI assistant pop up. I was thinking, what do I need AI for to print? Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let's find the box, because that's a very. I'll try two cases here. Okay, here this is a complex case. Let's add this to my downloads, and let's just see what happens. Is that a JPEG? I hope it is. It is a JPEG. Okay. So let us try that again. I guess I just upload again magic layers and try it again. Upload. What's this one called? It has a number. 2522225. Sorry, I should have named it. Okay, I think this is it. Okay, yeah. This is an interesting one because it's a typical picture, and I usually clean my pictures up. Exceeds the size limits. Okay, so I don't know how to resize it. Okay, I do know how to resize it. Let me open up in my local app here, and I'm going to resize it to be something like 1920. It's a very huge image. 1920 by 1080. Okay. Save, and I'll save it in downloads as, I'll call it ML1 for magic layers. Okay, let's try it again. So now it's just a full HD image. There we go. I can see it easily. It's not big. There we go. Okay. Okay, open editor. Let's see what happens here. Okay, okay, it's doing something. Let's just let it, I'm just waiting for it to do its thinking. So normally what I would do here is I really want this box to be on a purely blue background. And there's all sorts of things. There's some piece of clothing, I think, for me, or my hand or something is here. So it's taking a few seconds. Let's see what, okay. See, I can just move this away. That's cool. Now, what it left isn't perfect. Photoshop does a better job of removing things, but I like this interactive removal. Oh, that's, okay. Let's remove this thing out of the way. Let's remove this thing out of the way. Let's remove this thing out of the way. And then let's see if I get my blue paper the way I want it. Okay, it's capturing a little bit of the shadow, my shadow. That's fine. You see now, this is really useful, right? This is really useful for me for product photography, because this is a classic problem I have, which is like my photography studio is not, the table is not big enough. The blue paper is not big enough. So and I get these other objects in the way. I don't want them in the way, right? So this is really cool. Let's try another thing, which again is a classic problem I have, which is we're actually going to take a look at an actual tablet. I think I have one here. Let's see. Let's see, this one's big enough or too big. This is actually some Wacom standard. Yeah, it should fit fine. So I'm going to copy this into the downloads folder as ML2. Where is it there? Downloads. Okay. Paste it in there. Call this one ML2. Now this one, the challenge is the pen and the tablet. Seven secret photo collection of tablets slowly getting unpacked. I have a lot of pictures of tablet boxes. A lot. I actually, I have a small tablet grotto with all my tablets. I actually have a bedroom now converted to essentially two purposes: to store a bunch of cables and to store I have like a large folding desk, folding table, which I use as a surface to take product photography on. Let's see. Let's go back here and let's upload another one. There should be an ML2 in this. There we go. Okay, let's see if I can pull the pen away. Again, this is Wacom. They have box arts, or they have art on their webpage, and sometimes I want to reuse it, but it's got the pen in the middle. Okay, so let's see how good this is. I'm very curious about this. Photoshop has a detect objects feature, but I feel like it doesn't. Maybe I don't know how to use it correctly, but it's not really helped me. Okay, let's see. Now, there are some marks here. I don't know where the hell these came from. Don't know what the hell that's about. Little marks there. I just don't know how they got. Oh, look at this. It recognized the buttons separately. I can actually move these things off. In fact, I can even move the active area. That's funny. That's actually quite funny. It actually looked quite elegant without the buttons, I think. Right? Okay, let's try this. And I can move the pen. It didn't know what to do with the shadow, but again, this is, I think it's going to be transformative. I mean, it's not perfect either, so I'm not saying I can immediately use these results, but this will solve a set of problems. Okay, so this is useful. This is very useful. Art says, someone needs to make crazy headlines by feeding those Pentagon declassified UFO TGP footages into AI and asking what the objects are. It's like you're undressing the tablet, taking off its buttons. It looks, yeah, it looks almost like a forbidden thing to do. Like we really entered some strange territory if we are slowly revealing things on the tablet. Let's see. Nick Tyler says Photoshop has it too now, making crappy 3D objects from masked elements. Interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, this is a tools like this are useful. And again, I know some people just don't like AI because AI is unethical because of the way they train, but let us, you know, if you took the photo and you want to remove something and this is the fastest way to remove it or reposition it, like, I think it's going to be very, very useful for you, right? And I don't think, I don't think you can feel too bad since you were involved in the I mean, at least in this case, I was, in some of these cases, I took the photo. So I feel sort of entitled to modify the photo in any which way I want. Okay. Now, so that was good. I'm pretty happy about this. I'm not sure if I'm going to sign up for Canva. I'm already paying for Adobe Photoshop. So I'm going to see if I think, try their feature out more. Okay, I need to take a quick bio break. I'll be right back. Then we're going to try the new Photoshop AI feature. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and let's take a look at the comments. People are acting like photo to 3D AI has somehow replaced 3D modeling professionally. Meanwhile, for some reason, the quality of 3D assets in games has decreased dramatically lately. Interesting. Nick says, I hate AI, but auto masking can be useful. Yes, indeed, yes. I wish it was better. I still think there are a lot of real world cases where these kind of, like, when they're detecting things, they're not quite doing a great job. Photoshop had a lot of trouble with shadows, for example. They improved recently, maybe a year ago recently. But there's still things that they're not. For example, this photo is actually, or this tablet is actually a really good example. And when I've tried the equivalent of this in Photoshop, it's never, to us, it's very clear to some level how you would, if you had to manually get this tablet off of the white background, you know you'd want to like change the pixels at the very edge to not have a white border. But as of yet, Photoshop's tools still do things like leave a little bit of white border, right? It also gets confused when it still gets confused a little bit by shadows. So I think there is a way to go. All 3D generators are trash. I'm one of those guys who make high-level 3D models, and the problem is they are too slow and expensive to make. So that makes you understand. You're saying that manually, these models are too. Oh, sorry, I can't figure. Are you saying the AI is too slow and takes up too much money for the AI to make good models, good 3D models? Okay, we're gonna try the AI one. Sorry, the Photoshop one. Let me find it out. Which one it was? It was called New AI. This was. By the way, I found these from Matt Wolf. So give me a second. Let's go. Okay, so I think this is in Photoshop. I'm gonna open up the webpage for you here. Hang on. Let me avoid showing passwords and whatever. Okay, so here we go. Image editing just got smarter with AI and Photoshop and Firefly. I have not been satisfied with Firefly's generation quality, by the way. I never use it. I always use Nano Banana from Google. AI Assistant in Photoshop is now available in public beta. The public beta of AI Assistant in web and mobile, not in their desktop app, interesting, empowers creators at every level to create with confidence, clarity, and speed. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happened here. There's a woman on grass, and I guess she's at a park with some trees behind her. And now she's on the Windows XP background. I mean, I say that jokingly, but you know, very bright green grass. So it looks to be the same grass, just greener. And of course now the sky is just mostly clear with some, it's very intensely blue with some wispy clouds. So very different. Her shirt has changed color and almost looks like it's made of a different material. And is she wearing anything else different? No, just the shirt has changed. Okay, so using AI Assistant in Photoshop is simple as describing the edits you want. Oh, so like text to edit. Okay, like remove distractions, refine lighting, adjusting color. You have to choose to have AI Assistant apply edits automatically. Oh, you can choose or guide you step by step, so you can learn along the way. Interesting. In the Photoshop app, you can use your voice to request the edits you want to see, making editing on the go simple. Okay, that makes sense. Let's take a look at this video here. So someone's just like, they drew a flower, I guess. And they typed in something. Interesting. So they're saying remove unwanted people or objects, change colors, alter lighting. Okay. Make your portrait pop. Get step-by-step instructions for add a soft glow, boost colors, blah, blah. brighten colors, enhance visuals, crop photos, just by describing the want. Of course, it's cheaper, but it's trash quality. AI can't make good models. Proper topology. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've had very limited experience with seeing what it creates out of 3D models, and I've never seen it do an amazing job. I've seen some papers from 2-minute papers show that some of these tools are getting good, but I don't think any of them are released or available to a normal person. So it looks like this means use Firefly. They've added this feature to Firefly, or it's confusing. This is a Photoshop tool, but they've added it in. It's via Firefly. He said that cleanup is 1 day, and he makes 8 times more money than doing it manually. Maybe it's some mobile game thing with relatively simple textures. Interesting. Okay, let's give me a second as I sort out logins and stuff. I'm going to go to, since I can't use the mobile device with you, I don't even have, let me just, access. Sure. Hang on a second. I'm just clicking licenses and things. Try it now. Okay, so I got it up. Welcome to Photoshop 7. Upload an image. Okay, yeah. Why don't we just do the exact thing I did a minute ago? Okay. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to remove the pen. Remove the pen. Okay? Now look what it's doing. It's using Nano Banana, but I can switch to... let me go to Gemini 3.0 because I do pay for this. I mean, I don't know how the payment's working, but anyway, well... Okay, sure. Generate. 80 credits. I don't even know how much that is. I just want a good result, you know? That's all I want. Damn, it did a good job. I mean, it got rid of the pen. I cannot complain about that. Let me zoom in and just see. Yeah, I want to keep this. This is good. Let me zoom in. Do I see anything weird? No. This is now okay. So there's lots of JPEG compression. So what I want to do is upscale and remove JPEG compression artifacts, because that's another problem with sometimes you get on an online retailer, you'll find these images. Remove the pen. Do it now. Now I have Nano Banana. I've seen does a good job on upscaling, but it does hallucinate. Like what we need to pay attention for is slight details. And what? Okay, so we actually see the error right there. We lost. So there were these buttons are there, but they lost the text. You see it? Sorry, I'm trying to find the original. But let's go ahead and just take it and just see what happens. Okay. So I'm going to hide the generated layers. Look what happened. So first, this is the original image. We got rid. Okay. Now the shoot. I'm trying to zoom in here. Done. Yeah. Whatever. Done. Yeah. So this is all correct. Okay. Then I got rid of the pen, and look what happened to quality here. Classic problem in Nano Banana. You just lose quality. It will not maintain. I mean, at a certain size, it will just not. It will not maintain quality at all. So you can't. I've been burned by this a couple of times where I thought, oh, I was looking at a, I was zoomed out a bit. I made the change, then later I'm like, oh wait, it just messed everything up. Okay, so it just automatically messes it up. Okay. It is very similar to what was there, so I don't think it hallucinated, but you can, let me just turn it on and off real quick. You'll see how bad it looks, right? Oops. Look at this. Everything was just softened. And then I asked it to sharpen the image. Okay? Now watch what? Now I'll show you what happened when it sharpened. It didn't sharpen anything. In fact, it got blurrier still, and it started removing stuff. Now, the danger with these kind of Euchre says, yeah, it's funny how they were trying to upsell you to more models. Yes, indeed. Now I will try, what was that thing called? Adobe Firefly, but I don't think it's going to be very good. What I noticed is you can be misled, because sometimes zooming out, things can look good. When you zoom in, you'll notice it hallucinated, removed things. Look at how messed up the Wacom logo, right? Here's the original. Here's when I removed the pen. So this is not going to be useful if it's going to create this. Now that was Nano Banana. Okay, that was Nano Banana. Let's see if we can. I'm going to just create a new thing, okay? I don't want to, I do not want to download. That's awful. That's awful. Let me try to, how do I create a new? Yeah, I don't, it's so new. Okay. Okay, let me find another picture and I'll drag it in. I'll take a photo of CTL X7 II. I think I have a bunch of box shots that I did recently. Okay, this is a good shot. This is going to be a simple edit. Okay. This is 1920 by 1080 image. Okay. So it's pretty sharp. There's something I notice about it, which is probably you might not immediately notice. There's some glare from the lighting, right? So I don't know what this AI markup means, but I'm going to click it. Okay, that's what they're calling it. Sketch on the canvas to visualize the change. Okay, so here's one of the problems. First problem. The edges of the corners of the box are a little bit worn. Make them thick, make them look new. The corners of the box are a little damaged. From where? Make them look like new. So this is kind of interpret what I mean. It's not like add a cow there or something. It's some more judgment has to be. Now this time I'm going to try. I don't even know why. I can't select any other model. I thought it was going to use Firefly, but I guess not. Whatevs. Okay, let's try that. Again, we're looking for how much it's going to change the quality, as well as like, did it do the thing I asked it to do? And people are thinking about hooking these things up to critical energy generation in healthcare. Okay, already I can tell you it is blurry. Now, it did, to be honest, it actually, let's keep this. Let's compare, oops, I'm gonna turn it off. You see, it actually shifted the image too. Take a look at how much blurry it got. Now it did make that edge look really nice, but it destroyed the quality of the photo, right? You can see that. I don't think it hallucinated anything. You gotta check though, because I would almost call this a hallucination, because the B looks like a different font all of a sudden, right? It's because you lost the little tail there, or whatever they call that thing. The logo has shifted its aspect ratio a little bit. Okay. The color of the box, I think, has gotten a little darker. So I'm not. Let's take a look down here. right? Even the photo of the tablet on the box has shifted position. So this weird stuff happens. It introduced some damage there that wasn't there before. And I believe it also, it messed this text up. It says CREA, like creation. And now if I turn this back on, it looks like two E's. Right? It has really messed it up. I'm not happy with it. It's not what I expected. It's not doing a good job. I don't know why they're hyping it up like doing a good job. It is not doing a good job. Okay, I'll try another thing, which is replace the blue background with a with a bunch of tiny colorful flowers. Okay. Hi, Fluffy Tube Talks. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. AI can have some uses for automatic processing and some simple but massive tasks, but once you start looking into detail, it's falling apart. Not bad, actually. It's not bad. I can't complain. Right? I really cannot complain. I don't want to use Nano Banana, but maybe I can. I want to use Firefly because Firefly is, well, again, it moved it even more from the original. It's crazy. I think it did a good job. I have considered like replacing my blue backgrounds with kind of more colorful backgrounds, but of course, you get into the discussion of like, is it weird if I just for my thumbnail I replace the blue background with a colorful field of flowers? Is that too much? The goal of AI marketing is to gaslight you into thinking it's a good by hyping it up. Yes. They're creating a market. Corners and shadows. One thing, sorry, Nick, I'm trying to understand the context of your comment. Are you asking if it damaged the corners and shadows? Oh, the corner has a shrink wrap reflection in the edited one. Yeah, that's right. That's a little, yes. Okay, there's one other problem here. I'm just curious if we can remove it, which is can you see the tablet here is a little bit lighter here and here? That's an effect of the light that's in the room. A lot of times you just get glare bounce, just like you get on a pen display, you get some glare. I'm gonna ask it to remove the glare. You can see it, it's actually lighter red here than it is here. I'm gonna say, remove the subtle glare light from lighting, from the room lighting on the box. So what will it do? Art says, local man has unlimited amount of drawing tablets. Still uses AI to draw things for him. Generate. Euchre, I think the whole point is for tasks no one cares about quality. Like in your case, if it's an image, no one cares if it looks blurry. That's right. This is what we're going to discover, which is always sad if you take care in doing anything. Most people who are not really into the topic you're interested in do not care. They do not care. Okay, let's keep this change and see did it do the job. I would not say, look at the warp that happened. Look at that, you see it? It's another strange warp. In fact, if you compare it to the original for a second, the box is it's really shifted, The glare it's actually been softened even more, but it's not been removed. So in terms of, using this to like punch up a photo, if you're gonna punch it up by creating a blurry photo with hallucinated details that are gonna get you in trouble, it's not a good tool to use. Okay? It just isn't. Now, why can I not use, one of my questions, why is it not using Firefly? Okay. It removed all the dots on the tablet. I can still see the dots, but it softened them quite a bit. It's definitely softened them. Right? AI is the perfect tool for people who use stock images with the watermark still on them. That's true, Cube. That is true. And most people probably would do that. Those quality standards, no one cares, can apply to 90% of Ubisoft AAA games nowadays. Ubisoft makes Far Cry, right? Because Far Cry is like one of my favorite games of all time. Or Far Cry 5 specifically. I have seen people using AI for responding to corporate emails with corporate speak, so soulless shit like that, no one cares. Yeah. Well, look, God, how can I say this? It's so tough. Let me try to just put my face on there. Okay, so I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who worked in the tech industry for 28 years, okay? So, I think this happens in all industries, but I was the one I was in, so I can talk about it. There comes a moment when you realize most of what's happening is you are not really having a robust discussion about anything. You're having and this isn't always true, sometimes you have very robust conversations, but a lot of the times you're just talking about artifacts. You're reviewing documents, you're reading documents or email or PowerPoint presentations. And it can feel like all that's happening is you're creating content. Right? You're creating your performance review. You're creating a PowerPoint deck to explain the project status. And a lot of that stuff seems meaningless because honestly, I think as time has gone on, I think people paid less and less attention to that kind of content. The way I noticed it, honestly, is when this is like, and this is just me for a second. So I'm very picky about meetings. So like, unless I already know, if I come into a meeting, I'll always just ask the person who organized it. I go, what is the agenda? And what is the goal of the meeting? And you'd be surprised how many people just say, we're going to talk about something. That's it. They'll just say, we're going to talk about it. I'm like, no. And I'll go, what decision do we need to make? Or are we going to brainstorm? Like, tell me the nature of what we're trying to accomplish. What's the success goal for the meeting? So I know also in these meetings, I noticed no one was taking notes, right? Like I noticed that we'd talk about a topic and we'd have the same conversation in 3 weeks. Like, cause no one had any memory of the conversation because no one took notes. So there's nothing persisted, right? So, a lot of the discipline went away. And now with AI creating just massive amounts of content, we're going to be awash in a world with very pretty looking slides that have all the trappings of data and analysis, but really no one's paying attention, right? It's just, you understand? I mean, yeah, some people will, a few cases, but I think it's going to be harmful in that sense. Let's see. I think stock images with watermarks on it goes hard though. I'm very postmodernist. Yeah, it's kind of a Banksy thing, I guess. AI, write me this mail. AI summarized the email a coworker wrote me using AI. This reminds me of one of my favorite. I don't think anyone has ever remembered this. They've never brought it up to me. I've never heard anyone mention it. But in the book by Isaac Asimov called, you may have heard of it, Foundation, there's a scene where the mayor of the city, I forgot, Anacreon, I believe, Salvor Hardin, I believe was the mayor's name. the details don't matter, but he gets a visit from like some guy from the Galactic Empire. And that guy talks in a very, I don't know how to say it really in English, but it's like a highfalutin way, right? Very fancy way, too many words. You can't even figure out what his point is because he's just like rambling. Anyway, the mayor's assistant, is just, helping, of course, with this visit from this high-level member. And they're trying to figure out what he wants. Anyway, the guy leaves. He's been there for a week or whatever. He leaves, and the mayor looks at the assistant. He goes, Did you capture everything he said? Did you record it all and put it into the computer, which we'd call AI?" And he goes, What did the AI say he said? Meaning, because he just kept on talking. What was the ultimate point of what this guy said? And the assistant says, well, the summary of what he said is, "Do what we say or we'll bomb your city." And I always took that example and thought, that's like the ultimate thing you'd want, right? Out of some system, is like to be able to just condense away all the nonsense and just get to the core point. And so the reason I bring this analogy, the story up, is people are going to just be like, okay, Google, what's Google? Gemini, write my breakup letter with the girlfriend. The girlfriend's not going to read it. Her, what would someone else use? Her chat GPT would say, hey, you just got a breakup letter. Would you like to formulate a response? And what general effect are you going for? And she would say, well, I want to be cordial, but I want to make sure he understands there's no chance that I'll ever reconsider that. Like, we're done. I don't want to talk to him. And then the AI will say, well, do you want me to like really make it mean or nice? And she goes, make it nice. And then it will do the reply. And that's it. No one's going to have an actual conversation. They'll just have the AI talk to each other. We have people today who won't listen, hang on, where's my phone? How many people do you know today will not pick up their phone if you call them? They will only deal with you or others through text. How many people do you know like that? There's quite a few, right? Or they're nervous about picking up the phone and talking to somebody. AI is there. It's going to be awesome for them because they're like, they don't have to deal with this anymore. Middle management loves talking about. Yes, absolutely. Seriously, you ask someone in a meeting, what's the agenda, and what's the goal of the meeting? How do we know if the meeting was successful? And watch what percentage of time they are unable to answer the question. And I'm not talking about meetings with 2 people. I'm talking meetings that call like 5, 10, 15 people, senior people, right? And how much money we're burning just like we're talking about things. And then no one takes notes. So everyone forgets what happened. I have so many stories about communicating. Distracts them from having to do valuable work that creates something. There's a concept called fake hustle. Actually, let me look it up for you. This is actually, I've seen this many times actually. Fake hustle. Okay. And I think it's actually originally a sports analogy. Okay. And I have experienced this at work. I'm not joking. Okay, hang on, let me show it to you. Fake hustle refers to the illusion of productivity, where individuals appear extremely busy, stressed, or active, produce little to no tangible results. It is characterized by performing superficial, high visibility tasks such as chasing highlight plays in sports or busy work in business rather than focusing on foundational, high impact work. I have seen this. I have seen projects where they were just creating lists of things like to check them off. And they were counting the creation of the list as success and the checking off of the list as success. Not that anyone had any agreement to anything or understood what was being said. They're just like, we created the list, we got it all checked. What was the impact of that? Couldn't answer. Didn't know. Most average people are already basically AI. Are basically AI already. Well, I can understand that perspective. I think regular people have the faculties for more profound conversation and engagement with things, but the kind of things they end up doing stifles that. Stuff like AI only contributes, I see, to this fundamental nature. Nick says, in USSR, between funding, 90% of work was making your work look good in reports, and no one cares if you actually make trash as long as the... No, that's very good. This is a classic problem. One time I was in this was habitual. It wasn't just one meeting. It was like many meetings I was in where I don't want to name the team, but these guys brought up this dashboard with like 100 rows, okay? This is a complex product, it's a big product. And the dashboard was like, all these tests are green. I mean, like everything's like looking great, green, 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 green. And everyone's like clapping, right? Because everything's green. And I walked out of the meeting and I found one of the test people. I said, what the fuck is that? I said, I actually tried the product. I said, I installed it. It said, it said, welcome. I clicked OK and it crashed. What are you talking about? How can you be green on dashboards if the product crashes immediately when you use it on the first click? Right? And I said I tried it multiple times. It wasn't just my machine or just one incident. Like it just habitually crashed. And because we communicate so much through these dashboards, and no one's questioning what the dashboard means, right? It's really can be quite perverse what happens. But yeah, you create dashboards because that's what is seen by the layers. Now, I'm not a believer in doing that. I'm a believer in some people do this in Microsoft. What do they call it? Like embracing the red, which is like, don't be afraid of the red, because that just means I need help or I need us to talk about this. So don't be, but too many people think of like, don't show red on the dashboard because that means something is wrong and your team is failing, right? So there's a psychological thing going on with some teams and some people. Let's see, Fluffy Tube Talk says, I am one of those people, but will call back after text or voicemail. Yeah, I only really will take a voice call from someone I know I need to talk to, or, we're close friends. If it's just a random person, I'm not going to take it. I'm like, look, just say what you want, right? And I'll look at the voicemail. But at work, look, you get psychologically different people at work, okay? I'm just telling stories again. There was one guy, he's a good guy, by the way. He came up to me and says, 7 pence. He said, you seem like a good guy, but I keep emailing you and you never replied. And this issue that I'm talking about is so important, right? And I keep red flagging and high prioring my email, but you just ignore it. And I said, Chris, that's his name, Chris. I said, Chris, I like you. And I said, I understand now because you're standing in front of me. This is an important thing. And I will, as soon as we stop talking, I will go address that and look for that email. And he goes, but I need you to understand something. I get 50 people all giving me high prios all day. So just putting a red flag on your email doesn't mean anything to me. It's one of a million that I have to deal with a day. So but now that you're here, now that you've signaled to me that this is truly important because you walk 10 feet from your office to mine, I'll take care of it. And this is something I noticed at Microsoft a lot, actually. There were people, one person actually came to me and said, oh, this other guy he's not doing so, he's not paying attention to my email. And I go, he's across the hall from you. Why don't you just knock on his door and ask what's going on? But they're so, some of the people really do not want to talk. They do not want to have an interactive conversation. I don't know if that's because they're shy or they feel like they're not being clear, but it's not helpful because sometimes really you got to engage with someone on the phone or like in person. Let's see. I think a big contributor to fake hustle kind of mindsets is the school system. I agree. Also, the school system teaches people to be afraid of being wrong. And that's a bad attitude to have. You should not be afraid to be wrong and own it instead. I went through extremely good Finnish public education system, and even there they did not. Interesting. I would not have expected that. Sometimes it's more about the ritual of doing the work versus the result of. Yes, a lot of that happens. A lot of great projects will not progress linearly, and you will be read from. That's true. Listen, this is, if I start my second channel, which I'm late on doing, I want to talk about that very topic, which is the reality of the world is when I was, okay, let me back it up. Let me make it personal. When I was young, I was like internally quite upset about things being wrong. Me having the wrong answer, or being late, or not paying a bill on time, or showing up late, or whatever. Because the world is filled with little deadlines. It's filled with little things that have to be done completely, right? And it took me a long time to internalize psychologically that, in fact, even though those deadlines and requirements are in fact imposed upon you, and they are real, the system, the overall system is designed for failure. It has to be, because no one could guarantee the entire machinery of society is happening on schedule and at high quality, right? If you forget to pay your taxes on time, which I have done one time, by the way, nothing bad happens to you. You just get a penalty, right? You don't have to lose your mind. Like, the system is okay with you, oh yeah, you did break the speed limit. Yeah, you'll get a ticket. Yes, it's not fun to get a ticket and have to pay some money, but it's not like crazy things are going to happen. So I think people should realize that you're right. Projects are really in the red a lot or in the yellow until they get to a certain state. Nothing works at the beginning, right? Cube says, dashboard is all green and no problems because there's no users able to use the product to break. Yeah, that is also true. That is also true. Yeah, it's funny, like sometimes, because I've been through this many times, certain projects, especially if they're V1s, like so little of it works in a complete sense, like little bits of it work, that you don't have a product. And it's only like literally 4 months or 6, you've been working at it for 3 years. It's only the last 6 months that you actually have a product that exists as a whole system. And then you have problems with it, right? The system has rights, but you do too. It's not reasonable to assume that you can always be 100% on time, on point, and everything in order. And serious work stuff, yeah, that's right. It happens all the time. This is why I mentioned earlier when we started the stream, I enjoy reading or watching YouTube channels that deal with aviation problems, disasters, whatever you want to call it. Because you realize like what serious work is, again, how decision making affects things, and how you have to be cognizant of the system not working perfectly. My great example is turning. If any of you drive and you have to turn, you have to go through an intersection, okay? And the lights are changing, right? I never assume that cars are obeying the red light. I always delay a little bit longer to ensure I see that they are slowing down. I don't, because people make mistakes. I have run a red light. This happened 20 years ago, like 25 years ago. I ran a red light because I was just engaged in a conversation with somebody and just went right through. Was that sloppy of me? Absolutely. But you have to be prepared for defensive driving, I guess they would call it. That people are going to make mistakes, right? This is the reality situation. Hopefully we design systems to mitigate those mistakes, but it's a reality. Stephen Hawking development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race, noting it could redesign itself at an accelerating rate, leaving slow biological humans behind. Well, the less it is. I feel like the danger is real, because in truth, we are cogs in a very big system. And if the system's producing reports that tell you your organization needs to do something, you have no mechanism to question it, because non-compliance can be met with, jail time. And the justification can seem real because there's a million TPS reports that say, oh no, it's actually valid to do what we're asking you to do, right? In the middle of all that, when people are just doing what the instructions say, the instruction maker, the planner, the agent that's figuring out the plan may have other incentives, right? Other incentives. Unfortunately, the education system, Art says, even in great countries, is not there to actually educate. It's there to indoctrinate and normalize some behaviors. At some point, you just need to use your own judgment. Yeah. I look back at the education I received, and some of it was very good, and some of it I feel like was time wasting. I definitely wish that when I was younger, it would have been more. Actually, I'll just say it like this: I thought I was a pretty smart guy when I came to Microsoft, and I actually thought I was a really good communicator as well. Actually, I learned I was an awful communicator. I could not communicate to save my life, and I didn't know that. And to me, like, being at Microsoft and learning what I did through experience about how to communicate, a lot of the topics we're talking about, has been one of the biggest improvements to like the way I work, the way I think about life, right? And when I look back at what school was like, especially like even college, I find a lot of the things that make me smart or smarter or more able to communicate clearly were things that were not really stressed in that kind of education, right? And I'm not saying school is bad or to make a revolution, more so that everyone has to think as individuals and not to really just do with the deadline. Yeah. It's tough though, because especially when you're young, the system, the education, lots of things are those requirements seem deadly urgent, right? They're like impossible to break. And you don't realize how much flexibility you actually have. Euchre says, to me, AI is clearly a grift. For the amount you put into these companies, they're absolutely not putting out anything impressive. In fact, it's way destructive. I think that I have a balanced view on this, which is AI is creating some positive. I'm going to talk about productivity first, okay? AI for me is having some positive productivity, okay? I've been very open that I use AI assisted coding a lot, okay? And I'll talk maybe about why I think it's so great, but like, is it perfect? No. It's made mistakes, it's led me down some weird paths, but overall it's been a huge boost for me, right? Having said that, I don't think every field can say that the productivity increase has been there. I think some fields, definitely the application of AI is probably dangerous, okay? And some it's probably just, it's upsetting in interesting ways, like generative art certainly is part of that. But I do think in some cases there has been a real improvement thanks to the use of AI. It has helped me do some things and accelerate my work in ways. I don't just mean code for me. Even things like setting up my git ignore file, or setting up Vite or Vite, I forgot how it's pronounced. Setting that up so that my web app just works, right, was really helpful for me, because I'm not familiar with those things. But now I'm like, it's actually teaching me. Now I'm getting familiar with these things, right? I doubt anyone with actual technical machine learning knowledge believes in AGI. Meanwhile, people that doesn't know what they're talking about, like Altman do. Yeah, I don't. I have trouble. I agree with your statement, Euchre. AGI is a big task, and still AI is, it's it's just statistically good at what it does. Doesn't mean it knows anything. Okay, it clearly does not. You can actually make it do things, and you realize it knows nothing. So people confuse what it does with it. They believe it has, it has this apparent sophistication, this apparent knowledge, but it really does not have any of those things. Having said that, again, sometimes it can be a big productivity boost, what it can do. We're already seeing the results of AI making code bases harder to maintain and nearly grinding things to halt after a while. Yeah, I think I saw one of the posts on, I think your Discord server, Cube. What I understand is that certain open source projects are getting what's like flooded with crazy PRs. And I mean, like a tidal wave of PRs. And that's not helping, it's hurting the projects. Let's see, the environmental and economic effects of data centers isn't some kind of world-ending thing yet, but it sure looks like an extremely bad cost-benefit analysis, and it'll only get worse. Well, look, here's a perspective. In the 90s, in the United States, there was a huge overbuild of, I think, fiber capacity, okay? Because everyone was going to make the next $100 billion on networking, and the internet was the hyped thing. Internet is like what internet was what AI is now, okay? And lots of people were essentially speculating and so they invested and all this fiber got laid that was never used. They talked about dark fiber for a while. Now it's being used, right? So the results were a waste for a long time, but then suddenly it became super critical to how the world worked. Now I'm exaggerating. I'm probably leaving out quite a bit, but you get the general idea, right? I think it is going to seem like it is an extremely bad cost analysis right now. It will end up costing more, especially when you have so many competing AIs and competing data centers. But in the end, I think things will consolidate. Algorithms will get smarter. So I think we're just not there yet. Okay. Now maybe that's a very optimistic look, but I'm just withholding my judgment on the full cost benefit until then, which I think we may not know for 10 years. The effects of intelligence and mental faculties is yet to be seen, but doesn't seem positive either. Yeah, I could see that. Already, every now and then, strangely enough, I browse certain subreddits that are not related to tablets. And one of them I browse is r/teachers. Because I'm just interested in how people learn. Man, even without the AI, some of the kids in their classrooms are struggling. They are struggling with basics. And then you have the AI stuff coming in, which is messing them up, right? I do think it is going to be difficult for people to maintain certain sets of mental skills with AI around because there's no need to do it, right? Let me give you a concrete skill, just so, and it's one related to me. I'm really good at giving directions, or at least I think I am, from my house to the McDonald's or whatever, or to Microsoft campus. Because I lived in an age when we only had printed maps. So I know when I give someone instructions, I write it down, and I say things like, on this road, if you see a McDonald's, you've gone too far. In other words, I'm already preparing for the error, right? And I know to do that because I know people aren't perfect, right? So I developed that skill because I had to. With Google Maps, I don't have to do anything. No one has to do anything. You don't have to know anything, right? And it gives you the false sense of certainty. And people, as you know, will follow those maps into like lakes and stuff. So I'm using that as an analogy to say that certain skills will erode, certain abilities we take for granted will erode. It used to be if you used a computer, you were almost by definition an expert. Like in the 80s, no one had computers, and they were not easy to use. You had to, so almost everyone who used a computer was kind of an expert in some sense. Either an advanced user, a really advanced user, or an actual like electrical engineer type person, or somewhere in between. Now you see that people who have been using iPads since they were little kids, they don't really know how to troubleshoot problems, right? Because they not really sure how this glass thing with glowing pixels works. And that's interesting. I never thought that would be the case. In my naive mind years ago, I just thought, well, yeah, of course, everyone's going to know how to use a computer because you're using them. But they've gotten so simple now, you know very little about. Not just how they work, it's more about like debugging a problem. A normal person now would probably not know or because they haven't exercised the skill to do it. Let's see. True, AI is kind of a financial bubble. It keeps snowballing as they throw more and more money into it. But it is overpriced and stocks. It will pop. I think we have gone through many bubbles. Don't forget there was an internet bubble as well. That happened. A software bubble, a tech bubble. That crashed. There was a housing bubble in 2008 in the US. That crashed for a while. For different sets of reasons. So like it happens. I mean, like you got to just think long term. Yes, it's going to be tough. Yes, there's going to be I don't know, I want to use the word crash, but there'll be a correction. Okay, yeah. Why wouldn't there be? It's happened every other time. There's the opposite angle too. AI is incestuous and due to having consumed all the content on internet, it's not consuming AI content. Well, yeah, I haven't personally seen that happen, but I can believe it. Right? I think the thing I've noticed, to be somewhat selfish here, is because I do ask AI questions. Sometimes I just to see what happens, especially on drawing tablets. What's weird is I've seen it quote my documents back to me and get it wrong. Right? It's like, no, I didn't say. Not only did I not say that, I said the exact opposite. But it's so certain that I'm, So I'd hate to think people are learning these kind of incorrect lessons from AI summaries of what I write. Even worse than trash PRs, people are also submitting AI vulnerability reports trying to claim bug bounties. Curl had to shut down their bug bounty program entirely. Whoa, I didn't. Now there you go, right? It incentivizes this kind of behavior. Oh, interesting. It's probably not just AI with the younger generation. They grew up and growing up in an increasingly short-form entertainment-based society from young. Yeah. Well, I will speak for myself about the short-form entertainment. When I grew up, just remember, TV shut down at like midnight. Like you just got static until like 7 a.m. And most people, you waited for shows to begin, okay? And then if it wasn't a TV show, you go to the movie theater. Which for me, by the way, was an hour and a half away. Now, the reason I tell you all this is inherently there was a lot of waiting. You'd wait for a song to come on the radio, okay? You just waited. You didn't know when it was going to get played. Maybe you would have a tape recorder, you'd record it and then play it back for yourself. But other than that, there's a lot of waiting. Even as I have, especially with my iPad and YouTube, my ability to watch a movie has completely vanished. I cannot sit through a movie. I can watch it in chunks. Like I can deal with it in like 15, 20-minute chunks, but I cannot sit down. I once sat down and watched Lawrence of Arabia, which is like 3 hours. Cannot do that anymore. Right? It has lowered my threshold to deal with long-form content. Absolutely. I absolutely admit that. A really scary part is that very young people are not even aware that more substantial, profound ways of engagement exist They don't even accidentally. That's a great point, Arch. It is hard to discover things. It is very hard to discover things, even accidentally. Like nobody knows how to research anymore because they just ask. Yeah, they don't know how to research, right? And I suppose they don't even know how to question the research that comes up, right? Unless they ask AI to do it. Actually, by the way, on another Discord I'm on, I was asking AI about something called Svelte and some other kind of web frameworks. And it gave me the answer, but then it gave me ads for books on Svelte and this other thing. And I was like, whoa. So this was the first time I saw an ad in an AI response. Now, it was relevant, highly relevant, which I appreciated. But still, it felt weird. And by the way, it didn't just give me that ad once. It gave me that ad several times. So it's like the AI was saying, like, well, if you really want to learn about Svelte development, here's this, or you want to set it up, do these things in this order. By the way, here's a book that might help you do that. It didn't feel sleazy, but it just felt a tad over pushed, if that makes sense. But again, it was highly relevant. I will give it that. Old heads can still do it, but I don't know how a 12-year-old is supposed to learn. Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, look at r/teachers on Reddit. You'll get endless amounts of how they struggle with their current students and how AI is affecting them. People have tried to correct me about something I said, and it's obvious the AI is literally reading something. Yeah, I know the feeling. And summarizing it incorrectly because I made some. Yeah, absolutely. I've experienced that. Because I am the source, and the AI is using for a few things in which I find hilarious. Yeah. There's not that many people who, there are many people who are experts in drawing tablets. Cube is one of them. But as far as I know, I believe I'm the only one who, at least, writes non-review based content, like my article on pointer lag or whatever, right? And so there's not a lot of articles on these topics, and so often my question about drawing tablets source that back at me, which is just so weird. I can understand it, but it's weird. But yeah, it's because I myself am the source of most of this content. It's unusual. After slogging through the series finale, this is Fluffy Tube Socks. After slogging through the series finale for Game of Thrones, I had a watch party of the director's cut of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which I cannot fathom doing again these days. Yeah. I never watched Game of Thrones, but my friends watched the director's edition of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I don't think I don't think we felt it was a slog. I don't think we would have used that word, but it was it was a lot of time. It was a lot of time. But I don't know if I just... And the only reason I sat through that was my friends were watching it with me. So it was a watch party. If it was just me alone, I would not have been able to do it. Absolutely would not have been able to do it. There's a lot of people now who are promoting things in strategic places. They'll get sucked into AI and promoted... Let me make sure I understand this. Who are promoting things in strategic places that will get sucked into AI and promoted when... Oh, okay, let me make sure I understand. When you say promoting, they are pushing a product in strategic places, and that the AI is going to suck in that content, and then it'll get promoted. That's the kind of promotion you meant. Got it. At first, when I read it, I thought you meant like a promotion at work, but you meant, I think, pushing a product. I totally understand. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, people will do that. Everyone will game the system. That's another reality about the world. Everyone games the system. Everyone games the system. There's no way not to have that happen. That's just a natural human reaction. It's like that old quote. It's a sports quote, I think. It's something like, if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. Yep, exactly. It's like AI SEO. Makes sense. Well, AI is here for the long haul. I mean, again, I truly believe there will be I'm not going to say a crash. There'll be a correction. There has to be, right? Because the amounts invested are crazy. And do we really need so many different sources of AI? I don't know. I think they will condense into smaller numbers. I think they'll get better. I think they will get more efficient as well. I still think they'll spend a lot of money. I had a boss in Microsoft. We were talking about big data, which is required to do AI. And he used to tell, and I tell the customers, mimicking him, I would say, and he would say, if you thought you were going to save money by going to the cloud, you should have your head checked. You'll spend more than ever. And I believe that back then. That was just going to the cloud. The same thing is true about AI. They'll spend more than ever, but the theory is you will actually get better results. Now, of course, some of these good results you're going to have is you're going to let go of, you're going to trim staff, meaning layoffs. That is also a way that's going to happen. There's lots of work in corporations that does not need to be done. There's lots of work in general that is basically human being a document processor, right? And lots of that, I mean, have you ever been to and this is more of a United States thing, any visit to the Department of Motor Vehicles for a license issue will convince you we have people doing work that doesn't need to be done, whose work you could replace with a Python script. Not even an AI, a Python script. Just, so there's lots of that in a corporation. Lots of forms, lots of things that have to be checklisted, and little artifacts that have to get created. That work should go away. I read a Twitter post from an old anime industry artist who lamented the loss of distant, intimate frame, or whatever, like a really long, slow cut of someone walking down a street. Oh, interesting. I'm more familiar with 90s anime and 80s anime, so I think I understand the meaning here. I will say of the anime I've seen that's modern, it's very hyper meaning like lots of stuff's going on. But again, I don't sample all of it. I just know little pieces, but it does seem a bit more energetic than what I remember. Stuff you'd see in Stalker or Yuba, for example. I think those kind of cuts don't exist anymore because they're too boring. People don't get it. Instead, we get walking simulator sections in action games now. Yeah, that's true. I never played Stalker, by the way. Wait, is Stalker an anime or a game or both? Because I may be mixing things up. Okay, enough about AI. I'm going to switch topics now to military aviation. We'll still talk about AI if you want to, but there's a special topic I have to show you. First, I'm going to go to X, and I'm going to find DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research something agency. DARPA. Invented the internet, by the way. DARPA did. So, here it is. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen. Remember, this is our military in the United States. I'm talking about Tarkovsky's movies. Okay. Part of a joint effort with U.S. SOCOM. Actually, I don't know what that means. Special Operations Command. Or, shit. Hang on, I clicked off of that darn thing. Come on. Sorry, my mouse movements are jerky. This experimental aircraft is being built by Bell Flight to demonstrate runway independent, I like that, high-speed flight. Okay, let's just take a look at this. You're not going to believe it. Okay, let me just tell you what you're seeing. You got these, I don't know what they call this V-style tail. Presumably there's jet exhaust here, right? So there's got to be some intakes here. You've got, and there are two versions of this, manned and unmanned. You've got the engines here. These aren't jet engines, even though they might look like they are. The rotors are retracted back. So if you know what a V-22 Osprey, here, let me find it. I think it's V-22. Boeing V-22 Osprey. I think this is heavily used by the Marine Corps. This thing, so it's got rotor, this is what that is, right? So, but they're folded back in this case, right? So I guess the rotors are out when it takes off. Once it's in flight, it switches, I guess, to a jet. And then when it needs to land, I guess it could land either way. Now, you see what I said? This looks like a game. I mean, it is a rendering. It's not a photo. Now, I want you to pay attention to the scene because that scene is going to come back to us in a minute. They're like in a forested region and you can see things are burning. We're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, second picture. It's more from the side, okay? And remember, there's going to be a manned and unmanned version of this. Okay, seeing this? Okay, now let me go find the Mover and Gonki show. I'm not going to play it, but I will show you the comments, which are hilarious and or tragic. Mover and Gonki show. And this is the Bell X76. Okay, Mover and Gonki show. I'll bring it up here. Again, I'm not going to play the audio, but I'll just put their faces on screen so you can. So they're looking at the same thing we just looked at, okay? And they're just like, what? But, and you should actually watch this. I'm going to leave, I'll put actually in the chat. It does look photobashed. It does look photobashed. Absolutely looks that way. Okay. So look at the comments here. The first, okay, remember the first picture, right? There's like burning things in the woods. First comment. Let me zoom in a little bit. I really want you to see the comment. Those fires are other X-76s. That's cruel. That's cruel. And this comment, when the designer of G.I. Joe toys gets a job at DARPA, it does kind of look like a toy, to be quite honest. This comment, nothing says efficient like carrying 2 extra engines with you. Yeah, kind of. Now this comment, I thought, I can interpret this one of 2 ways, both of which are bad. This one I liked. How do you improve the Osprey? By adding more points of failure. It looks like something the Luftwaffe was working on to turn the tide of war for 1947. Let's see. What could possibly go wrong? I think I drew that in high school art class. It does have that kind of slightly, you know, it does actually have a look like that, which is kind of slightly amateurish, kind of like a kid's fantasy. That's something that I would draw as a kid. The Osprey wasn't dangerous enough, right? And people are just loving the comments. There's lots of debate about that arch, that the Osprey is a death trap. There's debate about this. I've seen people claim it's no more dangerous than the Black Hawk. But I haven't looked at the numbers myself. But some people say the numbers are actually not as bad. There were some high-profile Osprey crashes, I think, near the beginning of the program. But still, you know, I gotta tell you, like, it's... Okay, so this really... The real thing I want to talk about here was complexity, okay? So, and this really is more than just military aviation. It's about complexity and designs in general. When you look at aircraft that, when you look at any system that has literally a lot of moving parts and lots of, carefully engineered things, I used to think that was really cool, right? Like they used to say the space shuttle was the most complicated machine ever created by man. And I believe it. I think that is true. But they would say that statement as a good thing. Like it's amazing that it's so complex because all the little tiles on the space shuttle are they're not the same tile. They're custom. They're like custom shapes because they have to fit the curve of the fuselage, right? When I was young, all that stuff seemed really cool, right? Here, let's just see. Look up the Su-47 if you want to laugh. They have to keep the plane under 300 knots because it will rip off the wings otherwise. I feel like vodka was involved in this. Okay, hang on. Let's take a look at this. What is it, Su-47? Speaking of which, we're going to get an F-47 soon, I hear. Holy, this thing is real? This looks like something from Macross Plus. It literally does look like that. Forward swept wings, huh? My understanding about forward swept wings was that they create a lot of additional stress on the wing, which is matching up with what you're saying because it will rip off the wings otherwise. And it looks cool as hell. Let me show you what I'm talking about, though. Give me a second. Macross Plus fighters. So there were two in Macross Plus, and this it's a fake one, obviously not a real thing. But this is what it reminds me of. This mecha right here. Well, let's see it in its normal form here. Yeah, so this is it in fighter mode. You can obviously see why I remind it. Yeah, summary related to military stuff. Have you seen the open source radar system that can automatically track targets from 20 kilometers? I'm surprised to hear that there's something called an open source radar system. I would not have guessed that. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Forward swept is okay if they're canards, but not these, not the normal wings. So, yeah. Anyway, go back to the space shuttle. I got a funny story about the space shuttle. I'll tell you in a minute. Complexity is bad. Complexity is real bad. I've come to despise complexity so much. I mean, sometimes you have to accept it, I guess, but I'm a big believer in simplicity, right? Doing one thing well, not trying to do everything. Doing one thing great, not 5 things okay, right? The more I hear about devices that can do everything, I'm like, those are complex devices. Sometimes you need complex devices. Computers are crazily complicated. Right? They are general purpose devices to do something. They're very complicated. They took decades to get to where they're at. I would say the roots of computers is really 100 years in the making, right? The Su-47 flew a couple years after Macross Plus, by the way, so it's feasible to say it was inspired. Oh, interesting. It's a cool look. I mean, let's not lie. I believe there was an F-16 modified with forward swept wings too, like some sort of test aircraft, but I could be mistaken. Speaking of canards, there was F-15 with. This is a wild looking plane. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, the F-15, whatever the hell this means. There's a lot of letters here. I think this looks cool as hell. It looks like an anime thing. Right? Just the canards are wild. The canards are wild. Look at that. It looks so strange, doesn't it? This is a rendering. But take a look at the, what do you call this? Thrust vectoring, whatever these are called, I guess. Yeah, here's a real picture. I think it looks like an anime plane. Let's be honest. Yeah, I think it looks amazing. Anyway, getting back to my point, complex things are you have to be very careful about using them, and because they fail at a higher rate, right? They really do. Uh, and so I don't like seeing things that are complex. And when I saw this Bell 47, let's go ahead and just type it in, Bell X47. Is it X47? Why can't I find it now? I had it a second ago and now I've totally lost it. Let's go back to DARPA. I closed that window. Let's go take it. X76, sorry. When I saw this, and I just noticed this, I noticed the rotors folding back, and there's a jet engine in it, and you got this kind of tail. I forgot what they call this. My immediate reaction was like, man, this is just complex. This is a complex machine, right? It's got two different kinds of engines that work differently, and there are two of the rotors, which I guess makes sense, but also, what happens if one of them fails? Is it even possible that one fails? But if one does, then you're messed up, right? Because it'll this thing is just going to rotate wildly. Vought V173. Let me take a look at this one. I'll show you my favorite Vought though. Vought, what was that? V173. Oh yeah, this looks like something from this does not look real. This does not look real. Like, it looks like a joke, right? I don't even know how to react to this. It's so strange. It's out of an anime for sure. Let me show you my favorite Vought. Some of you know what I'm about to show you. Probably, definitely, I think Arch would know this. This is my favorite Vought. The F8 Crusader. I think some people hate the look of this thing. I think it's beautiful. It is just it is so peak. Look, I mean, you just don't see you don't see airplanes like this. Right? And look at this design. The wings sort of separated from the main fuselage, so you get a higher angle of attack on the wings, right? Wild. So yeah, this is like a Vietnam era aircraft. That does look elegant, though. You have to admit, with this color especially, that looks elegant. Oh, it looks so elegant, I think. Almost looks like a rocket. Yes, yes. I think in this era there was a lot of shared design. You know, I guess, what do you call it? In the World War II era, there was a lot of the streamlined look was popular, right? Starting then. And then that bled into airplanes and cars. And then we get the rocket age, and and the X-31, if everyone remembers that one. Flying Fortress is great. It is great. Especially how the turrets are like this computer in 1945. Some kind of analog computer. It's really wild to see. But they're controlled from someone inside, right? They're not normal turrets. They're very advanced. Actually, you know what? I'm going to find a video of that. That's actually, let me just give me a second here. Because it's kind of stunning to see, actually. Super Fortress turret. These were networked mechanical computers. Okay, this guy shows it. It's just wild to see, right? So it's a mechanical computer. Look how fast it is. So inside, this guy moves this device, and this thing actually follows his motions, right? With relatively little lag, right? Given what is being rotated, you'd have to be surprised this actually exists. Right? Yeah, this thing is wild looking. You'd never guess, right? This was this was in service in 1945. Obviously, it had to be built before then. So this is a mechanical computer that does this. Can you imagine? Right? The engineering, like what you'd have to do to devise a device like this. That's less pointer lag than my walk up. It's true pointer lag, right? Because it's very accurate. That's a good analogy. The other thing to notice is he's not like straining to move that thing, right? He's just kind of standing, moving it with not very difficult motion. And I think that's another thing. Like in other words, it's mechanically assisted. He's not stressing himself to move something. It's like I assume there's some hydraulics or something doing this. But yeah, I'm amazed. I am really amazed. So that's the Super Fortress, which is a very beautiful plane. Actually, I want to show I want to show another beautiful plane. It's not a military plane, but you just don't see planes like this. It's yeah, it's the Boeing 307 Stratoliner, right? And it's just got a very unusual look. I'm trying to find a good picture because if you see it, you won't notice why it's so different from a lot of angles. Yeah, this picture does it. Okay, let's show you this one. Here we go. Look at the front of this thing. This is a very like streamlined but sci-fi look. I have never seen the flight deck have so many. Is that what they call it, the flight deck, or is that something else? I don't want to. Is the flight deck the planes are on, or the thing the pilots are sitting on? They had a very wide panoramic window, which is very unusual, right? In fact, let's take a look inside Boeing Stratoliner. Because it's spacious inside, actually. I'm trying to find a picture of the cockpit. If I recall, this actually had 2 levels in it. Well, I'm not finding a good picture. Oh, back then they had those steering wheel type things. Anyway, back to my point. Complex things are really bad, and this makes me think this is complicated. High chance of failure, right? I guess the design is they want to be able, they want a vertical takeoff and landing, but they want speed. But I just don't know if you can ever get that together. Flight deck, what do they call like in an airliner? Do they call it the cockpit still? What am I thinking of? Okay, I'll research it later. I don't know what I'm thinking of. But again, just for everyone who doesn't know me, this is my. Okay, I'm gonna give. We're gonna do a little bit of a. We're gonna do a tier list, okay? Tier list. Best to maybe push the unmanned version first. Yes, I agree, Rain. This is my fighter tier list, okay? Okay, and this is gonna be controversial. It says it's going to be controversial. Some people are going to object to this list. Okay. Absolutely an S tier. F4 Phantom 2. Okay. I think flight deck does mean the room. The gauging controllers are inside in civilization. The cockpit. Okay. Okay. Include drones. I don't know if I can include drones. Okay. F4 Phantom 2. Everyone's got to see it to believe it. I'm going to tell you why it's the hottest plane ever. It's hot. Hotness is what I'm looking at here. Not performance, not speed. I'm looking for hotness. Okay. This thing looks, just looks dangerous. It looks like a beast that will eat you. It is filled with strange angles and strange curves, unlike any other fighter plane you've seen. Okay? Little features like the way the tail, these things and the wings and how they go up at the end, right? It's aggressive. Okay? It's too beautiful for words, right? So it is in the S tier. Okay? It is in the S tier. Okay. F-16A and C. We gotta put these in. F-16A. Let's take a look. And I'll type in F-16C as well. Just because I'm not really familiar with the differences, to be honest. Arch, can you just tell us what the difference is between the two? Because I don't know. F-16 is in the S tier, absolutely. Okay, S tier absolutely will include the F-16. Notice that these planes are old, okay? These are not young planes. F-16 Falcon. Right? I think the pilots call them Vipers, but the proper name is like Falcon. Okay. Next, we'll talk about the new ones. The F-22. Does it deserve to be in, okay. Does this deserve to be in the S tier or not? I'm going to conditionally put it in the A tier. F-22. I hate to say it, but I'm going to put F-35 into the B tier. By the way, Gonki and Mover, apparently the pilots of the F-35 have a name for it. They call her Fat Amy. He says it all the time. I'm not saying it. That's Mover and Gonki. Okay, that's the B tier. What was the other one? YF-23, which never, I think, got built. This would have been my S tier. Okay? This would have been my S tier. It looks, again, like a something you would have. I'm going to count it. I'm going to count it as if it was like it actually exists in the real world, okay? YF-23. I'm going to put that in the S tier. Let's see. There's lots of small ones, but the C model got multifunction displays and expanded ground attack area capability like GPS. Got it. So it's the most modern of them. A tier because they're super duper expensive and have problems integrating current technologies. What about the Y-Wing? The Y-Wing, last I checked, the Vitch was the other. That could be it too. That could be it too. I don't think it's an attractive plane. It's okay. I don't think it's super attractive. It's pretty. It's pretty. It's mid, as the kids would say. It's mid. It's a mid plane. Okay. What else we got? Okay, A4 Skyhawk. Again, this is an old plane. Okay, I used to hate this plane. I hated the way this looked. Okay? Hated this thing. Okay? But actually now I love this plane. Okay? I love this plane. I'm gonna put this in the it's the what is it? The A4 Skyhawk. I'm gonna put it in the A tier. A4 Skyhawk. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah, Yuruka Skuru. I was like, wait a second. I hope there's no real thing called a Y-Wing. But you never know these days. Oh, interesting. I didn't know they... I keep forgetting they modernized these things. F-35 is probably the best airplane you can just buy right now, but it has lots of compromises in order to do everything. Yeah. Do everything, you got problems. Fluffy Tube Tuck says, I love this stream because 1 second we're learning about digitization and tablet history, and the next we're doing fighter jet tier lists. It is beautiful, that's right. Almost nobody has them, but they're getting adopted by non-US militaries. Maybe you know this, Arch, I was hearing that, this is what I was hearing, so you have to tell me if I'm right. Like, the United States controls those F-35s in certain ways, like, we give them like codes, like software updates, and like if we don't authorize their use, they can't be. Actually, this is what I've heard. Two things. I've heard that they have to have certain software updates, otherwise they won't function. That's one thing I've heard. Second thing I've heard is the United States has control over them. Not like we'll fly them, but like they can be, I guess, remotely told not to operate or something. Like they have to get authorization, and I don't know if that's true. It's something I heard or I misunderstood someone saying. So I'm curious if you know what I'm talking about or referring to. Let's talk about, yeah, we got to talk about the Hornet and the Super Hornet. That's super important. Okay, I never was a fan of the Hornet. I'm gonna just straight up with you. I thought it was weird. It has grown on me. Okay, it has grown on me. And I'll teach you how to identify a Hornet versus Super Hornet right here. F-18 Hornet always looked just odd to me. I hated it. But it is, I think, I will say I think it's a B tier. It's a B tier, okay? F-18. And then I'll show you how to tell a Super Hornet from a Hornet. Super Hornet number one is bigger. And the intakes are actually bigger on the F-18 Super, and they're square or rectangular, I should say. I'm gonna put A tier is the F-18 Super Hornet, and let's just see. We'll just type it in. Hornet versus Super Hornet, and you can see it right here in this photo. Super Hornet's on the bottom. Okay, you see how the F-18 looks up here, right? They're very visually similar, but you see the intake here is kind of further in the back and kind of rounded, but here it's like a traditional sort of like rectangular look. So the legend I heard about the F-18 Super Hornet, it's like, why does it look so similar? What I heard, which could be apocryphal, it could be a lie, was that it is a different plane completely. Like, it is majorly a different plane. However, they deliberately, I mean, at least a lot of it's very different, let's say that. But they deliberately made it visually look like the F-18. Now, why is that? Again, this could be apocryphal or legendary, who knows? The reason for that was, as I was told, it is hard to get budget approval for a new airplane. Because whenever you talk about getting a new fighter jet, everyone's like, cost overruns, it's a new thing, we don't want to develop a new thing. But if you sell it as a V2 of an existing plane, they're like, oh, I get it. You're just upgrading the old plane. So the budget was approved for this because it just looks like the old plane. It was explained that way. So that's the story I heard. Again, I will defer to Arch or Nick or whoever else knows better. Let's see. As far as I know, the source for the F-35 black box is Russia Today, but software updates pretty much apply to all current military equipment. Okay. If John Deere does it with tractors, I can easily imagine the U.S. doing it with fighter jets. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you had a peer country and you sold them some F-35s, and suddenly they have a border dispute with you, I don't know, let's just say Mexico has F-35s, and suddenly there's a border issue, wouldn't you want to have like secret codes that can shut down those F-35s? I mean, it's not unreasonable to think someone would want that to be true. You wouldn't want your own, planes being used against you, your own tech, because it's good tech. Even the U.S. military is handicapped by having to rely on civilian contractors to perform updates and maintenance. They can't do it themselves often for something interesting. Yeah, the Super Hornet is wider and has foldable wings. F-18 maintenance is pretty straightforward, and they made it to be easy to learn to operate, and they carry a lot of weapons. Can land on highways. Okay. We use them in Finland still. Went F-35 though. Got it. Why was the suggested input when searching for the F4 percent? Was it? Let's do that. Was it F4 for you maybe? Phantom. Let's just do it though. Let's type it in. Phantom for sale. Trade. Okay, let's take a look. Anyone want to buy an F-14 or an F4? Sorry. That's $1 million. Make offer. Trades considered. Do I want this plane? I worked at Microsoft for quite a while. Could I, in theory, buy this plane? Yes. But that would be a silly use of my money. But it looks beautiful. There's got to be a cheaper version of this, though. Well, $3 million for this one. Maybe it's in better condition. Oh yeah, good point, Arch. Buying is cheap. Parts and maintenance, yeah. That's totally correct. That happened with the F-16C modernization. They had to make F-16CG and CJ versions to justify updates. They wanted to give them a new single letter, but Congress, you gotta see. This is all about the art of explaining things, because there's certain triggers for people to not approve your budget. So for some cultures, I'm talking about a business culture, a new thing is risk. So you'll do whatever you can to say the new thing is really not a new thing, but it's just the same old thing you already know, but better. It's just an update. That makes people feel safer than new thing, right? Later those were modernized in F-16CM and F-16CM50. It's the same listing. Okay. Oh, it's the same listing you saw. Got it. It's the only one that can be owned and flown by a private individual organization. F-16A is not civilian legal. I think one company. Oh, interesting. That must be amazing. How much does an F-16 go for these days? Sorry, I'll just type in F-16 for sale. It's got to be more expensive because it's hot. Fully up. This is in 2019. So let's see. 8.5 million. So it's expensive. Flying around in a private jet for fun is kind of baller. USMC Marine Corps wanted to replace the M4. Congress said no. They replaced the M249 with a special HK417 called the M27 IAR. A machine gun. Yeah. Suspiciously, U.S. Marine Corps rifle squads are now full of machine gunners with M27 IRs, but the rifle hasn't been replaced. Word games, name games, that's what actually happens. Okay, let's get back to the list. We have some VOT to deal with. VOT fighters. Okay, I've been over this. I love this thing. I think it's hot as hell. The F8 Crusader. Now, some of these are not really fighters, by the way. I think some are actually different roles, but I'm just calling them. I will put this in the B tier, honestly. Bought F8 Crusader. There's another plane that looks like the F8 Crusader. I forgot what it was called. We'll get there. Thank you for reminding me about Warthog. Plane that looks like F8 Crusader. VA7 Corsair. Yeah, I'll just put it in the same category. It looks so similar. Vought A7 Corsair. I always mix these two up, by the way. A7 Corsair. You can see why. Right? Okay. F15. Let's get that quick, and then let's do the A10. F15. I'll just deal with them as a bunch of them. This plane is... To me, this plane is the United States. Okay? This is... You know, it's the ultimate expression of power and aesthetics. It's not ugly. It is just... It's almost not even threatening in the normal sense. You can tell how big it is. It's huge. You know, it's like a Cadillac. But to me, this is very much, it says America. The shape of this plane just says USA to me. So I actually put this in the S tier, F-15. Notice that the S tier is filled with a lot of like older planes, by the way. F-14 is in the S tier. It is in the S tier, yeah. F-14 absolutely deserves to be in the F tier. I still haven't seen Top Gun Maverick, by the way. Right, this thing is, again, Vietnam era, it's hot. It's hot. Okay, there's just no, again, it's a plane that screams USA to me. Okay, I mean, I just love this thing. A10 Warthog. Let's take a look at it. A10 Warthog, not a fighter, but deserves to be identified in our tier list here. I'm gonna put this in the A tier, honestly, because it's unique and it is beautiful in its own weird way. A10 Warthog. That's in the A tier. A10 Warthog. Okay, what I'm gonna do, so I don't. Oh, F-14 inspired anime mech. Yeah. I mean, definitely that's true. All those Valkyries and Macross, right? Let's see, U.S. fighter planes. We're just gonna go down the list, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Thunderbolt. I'm not gonna talk about the Takano. Spirit's not a Glowmaster, Learjet. I'm looking for the fighters, really. F-15, 2235. Nighthawk, we got to talk about it. I think Nighthawk is A tier. Not sure why it has an F designation, but okay. Did I missing anything? There's a lot here, by the way. Okay, let me just try older U.S. fighter planes. Well, I want to make sure I didn't mix any of the classics. These are a little before the time I'm thinking about. There's the Nighthawk. Oh, sorry. I know it's not a fighter plane, but we got to put this guy in there, okay? We got to put the SR-71. That is S tier. Again, a super old plane. Okay? F5 Tiger. Oh, I skipped over that. Let's take a look. Thank you. And there's also the Tiger Shark. Northrop F5. I think it's a B. I don't think it distinguished itself as like really super beautiful, but it was it's pretty. It is pretty. It's mid. Northrop F5. And there's also I think there's the F, is it the F5-2? F5-2? Sorry, let me just try this. What was the Tiger Shark? Oh, that's the F5. What? There was another plane that looks... Okay, let's just... Plane that looks like F5 Tiger. It's very similar. What was it? Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm getting confused between my planes. Maybe it's just one plane that has two different names. F5 Tiger in black is... Yes, yes. In a lot of like 80s movies, when they had to have like Russian planes to fight the American planes, they used F5s. They did that in Top Gun, as a matter of fact. If I recall correctly. Oh, maybe it's the F5 versus the F20. Yeah, you can see why I'd compare them, right? F20. Let's take a look at this. So is it the F20 Tiger Shark and the F5 Tiger? I'm going to rank them the same tier. I think some of these are mislabeled in the web. This was also Northrop. And let me spell Northrop correctly as well. Those are classic planes. I mean, they're good. I mix them up all the time, Arch. Because I just cannot, my eyes never detect them correctly. Right? Never. You can see why, right? Like instantaneously I can tell a Hornet from Super Hornet, but these two, it eludes me every time. Okay. Let's take a look if there's any US fighter jets through the ages. We got the Eagle, got the F-18, got the Lightning. I'm not going to include the Sabre. That's a little before my time, to be quite honest. I don't feel like talking about the Harrier. I hate that. I hate that thing. I hate the Harrier. I know it may not be popular, but I hate it. It just looks to me so bad. Actually, I'm gonna put the Harrier. I'm gonna put the Harrier in here just to like mog it. We're gonna mog the Harrier. The Marines used it, right? The Harrier. Who made it? Hawker Siddeley Harrier. Okay, AV8. Is that right? I hate that thing. It's getting fuselage mogged right now by every other plane on this list. Oh, I hate that thing. South Korea still operates F5s. Japan wanted to buy F-16. China said no way. So they built part kits from the US and built their own domestic design Mitsubishi F1. Really? What? I thought they purchased them. Wait a second. This sounds Mitsubishi. Was it F1? Okay, let me make sure I understand. You're saying and built their own domestic design. But there's, sorry, I'm just trying to understand. You're saying there's something that they built that looks like an F-16. Is that correct? But I'm not seeing, like, this doesn't look like an F-16. Is it a different plane you're thinking? It actually looks like a Hornet in some ways. Oh, so not Hornet, Phantom. Just because you see the rear part of it right there? That reminds me of it's like from a certain era. Yeah, if you can find the actual model, I'd love to see that, actually. I always like seeing something that looks similar but is not the thing, right? F2, okay. That's not an F-16? You're kidding me. I had no idea. I would never be able to tell that. Is derived from F-16. 60-40 manufacturing split. So Japan does the 60, US the 40. Interesting. It looks good. I mean, it looks good. Okay, so let's just make sure we know what the S's are. SR-71, F-14, F-15, YF-23, F-16, F-4. What's funny is a lot of these planes are like from the 60s, and like they're old ass planes. They're old. The newest plane here is one that isn't even, never saw service, which is the YF-23, right? F-15 is what, from the 70s? Right? F-14 is like 1958, something like that. Falcons from the 70s, right? Oh, Arch sent a picture in the Discord. Let's take a look. Arch. Oh, thank you, Arch. This is useful. Let me show it to people. Okay. So yellow is the F-16 and the blue is the, oh, whoa. Yeah, I like they're very similar, but now laid on top of each other like this, the difference is much more clear, isn't it? That F2A is actually quite a bit bigger. Interesting. So it's not like a part for part exact thing. It is really different. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Arch. Okay, with that, I think let's see, we've gone on now for 2.5 hours. This was a good, fun stream. We talked about some fun topics, including pressure and tools and AI, and finally we did our fighter plane ranking. I had a lot of fun, and I hope certainly that you enjoyed just listening in, and we're able to get some entertainment tonight. And with that, I bid you farewell. I'll see you all soon, and I will be streaming again later this week. Bye.